Welcome back to the channel. Today's tutorial will be on this beautiful Bou Bou dress. Thanks so much for stopping by. Subscribe. So what I did was to fold my fabric into two. The next thing I'm going to be marking is the length, the full length of my gown. So I'm working with 40 inches plus 2 inches. Or I'm working with the 41 inches. That's both the seam allowance, the hemming allowance included. So this is my start point, which is also going to serve as my shoulder line. The next thing I'm going to be imputing is my neck width, which is 3 inches here. Alright. Then the next thing is my shoulder measurement. Then my sleeve length. How long do you want your sleeve to be? The choice is yours. You can decide to work with 10 inches, you can decide to work with less, you can decide to work with more. So for now, I'm working with 10 inches because I'll still be adding an extra band to it. Okay, so I'm starting afresh. This is 7.5 my shoulder measurements. Then I'll be attaching 10 inches. The 10 inches is my sleeve length. Then the neck width is 3 inches. Alright, then coming to this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is going to serve as my shoulder slope. Then I'm connecting it to my neck width to this point. Then for the sleeve, you can decide to work with 11, 10, 11, 12, 13 inches, depending on how wide you want it to be. So for mine, I'll be working with 12.5 inches. So I'm at 12.5 here. Alright. So I'm putting this back to this point. 17 inches. 17 inches. Alright. Then this is where my sleeve length stops. This is where my round sleeve stops, which is at this point 12.5. Then horizontally 17.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'll come in from this point now by 2 inches. You can decide to come in by 2.5 or 3 inches. So now I came in by 2.5 inches. Then from here I'm going to draw it down to the bottom part of the gown. Alright, this is a Bou Bou gown. It's very free. There is nothing like it's tight on you, but if you want to make it tight, the choice is totally yours. But this is a free gown. Alright, so the next thing I'll be doing now is to cut this out. Part of it. Alright, I made kind of a C curve so it's not sharp. Then I'll be using this to cut out the seam, which will be serving as the back piece. So the next thing we're working on now is the neck. So for the back neck, I'll be using 2 inches or 1.5 inches. I'll work 2 inches. That is for my back neck, which is this. So I'll cut it off. Then I pull it out. Then for the front neck, the depth is going to be, you can decide to work with 10 inches, or this is my 10 inches is my bust point. So I'm working with 9.5 inches. Okay, then at this 9.5 inches, now that's the depth. I'm going to be coming in by 1 inch. You can decide to come in by 1.5 inch or 1 inch. So let's go with 1.5 inches. So this is my 1.5 inch. I'll be condensing it to this point here, to my neck width. So from here, I'll connect it to my neck width. So sorry, I think the 1.5 inch is a little bit broad, so I decided to use it to 1.25 inches. All right, so then this is me cutting it. This is the cutting part of it. So this is what we are going to be having. All right, so this is what it will look like. The next thing we're going to be doing now is you're going to join the two shoulders together. All right, before we start attaching the collar. Okay, so for this thing of making of these pieces of fabrics is a leftover fabrics actually, so I'll be working with it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to join the two shoulders together. That is the front and the back shoulders together. Okay, then after which I'll measure round what I have. All right, yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to be measuring what I have, the round of the neck. All right, I finished joining the two shoulders together. So from this point now, measure it. I didn't measure this. This is the point I'm measuring. So let's see what we'll have. So we have 26.5. I'll go ahead and cut out a band that is going to be 26 and 27 inches approximately. All right, then it's going to be 1.5 inches on a fold. When I open it, it's 3 inches bold. All right, so this is what I have. It's 27 inches long. Okay, and the boldness is 1.5 to 1.5 inches to 2 inches bold. It depends on, you can decide to work with 2.5 inches or 2 inches bold. So now I'll be attaching it to my dress. So this is what I have. So I'll be starting from this point. I'm going to run a stitch on it, join it to my round of the neck. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do now. Front piece. All right, this is the neck area. Another thing I did was I made a small notch on it. All right, on the two ends I notched it a little. After attaching the upper sleeve, this is the upper collar, this is what I have. If you have a weaving machine, or you can go ahead and weave it, but I will do that later. Then I have to cut out this piece. How I did it, to the length and the width is 13 by 13. Both sides is 13 inches. You can decide to use more. Then to make this curve, what I use is from this point up I took 5 inches, then from this area to this area I took 5 inches and made a curve. So I'll go ahead and run a top stitch on it. So I'm going to fold it in a little and run a top stitch on the sides all through. Okay. The next thing I went ahead to do now is I went ahead and cut a strap. My fabric is actually not enough, so I'll be working with this 2.5 inches on a fold. All right, so I'll be attaching it to my sleeve just to brighten it up. I'm going to be attaching it to sleeve. I'm going to run a stitch on it, then open it up. All right, attaching my band to the sleeve. All right, to the sleeve area. The next thing I went ahead to do is to hem the bottom of my gown. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to run a stitch on it. I'm going to be shaping it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. So I've marked my shaping line. Okay, I used 1 inch. That's 1 inch. That's what I used. From here to here is 1 inch. Then from this point now to this point I marked is 10 inches. So I'll be able to insert my pockets, and I gave 10 inches from this sleeve area to here is 10 inches. Then I gave 7 inches space for my pockets. Then I marked the line down. So I'll go ahead and run a stitch on it that will attach the pockets.